Today we're at Torrey Pines Cliffs, officially known as Torrey Pines Glider Port. We're here to do something that's very unusual, winch tow for gliders. In addition to the gliders that we're going to see today, there are also radio-controlled model airplanes, hang gliders, and parasails. But the thing that we're here for today is winch tow off Torrey Pines Cliffs. The glider is ready, the wings are level, and we're ready for a winch tow. Let's watch. It's just like a giant fishing reel. The flag is waving. Here we go. And when the glider gets directly overhead, it drops the cable. The end of the cable has 3 little parachutes. The glider is airborne. The cliffs are right on the edge of the Pacific Ocean, and there's a constant sea breeze that's coming in. The wind cannot go through the cliffs or under the cliffs, so it has to go up over the cliffs. That's called mechanical lift. And the glider is going to cross a hang glider here. The two of them are going to cross in just a minute. And the hang gliders and the the parachutes or the parasails, they can fly here for hours because you have the constant mechanical lift. You're not depending on thermal lift, which comes and goes. Would you describe this glider flight as we're watching it?
I'd be glad to. That's a 233. It's a standard American training glider. There's 2 people in it today. They're going for a ride. That particular ship belongs to the University of California at San Diego. Our club has one too as well. They're making a standard left-hand pattern. They make a 270 turn, coming back and crossing the track north. They go out to the ocean. Now they're turning left. He'll be sighting up on the runway, using his spoilers and his airspeed to line up with the runway and come in for a landing.
Now I see a hang glider or parasail. Who has the right of way here?
Typically we will avoid each other with the rules of the air. The parasailers are rather slow moving, and we can usually fly around them with no problems. On some days we'll have 15 or 20 paragliders, 6 or 7 sailplanes, and maybe 10 or 20 hang gliders. So he approaches the runway at about 55 miles an hour, uses his spoilers to destroy the lift, and settle down and roll up to the flight line, and we're ready to go again.
The flag is waving, the signal is on, the wings are level and off the ground. The glider is traveling at about 55 miles an hour at this point, about a 30 to 40 degree climb. He's going to drop it. There it is. 3 little parachutes on the end of the cable, and the cable comes down and hits the ground. The glider is now at about 200 feet altitude above Torrey Pines Cliffs. Torrey Pines Cliffs is right on the Pacific Ocean. There's a constant sea breeze blowing. The wind cannot go through the cliffs, so it has to go up and above the cliffs. And that creates what is called mechanical lift. And it goes on 24 hours a day. So a glider theoretically could stay up for any length of time. And they have sustained flights here of 3 or 4 hours. That's a very common occurrence. This is a 233. It's a two-place front and back training glider. The instructor sits in the back, the student sits in the front. The cruise is about 30 miles an hour on a glider, some of them as low as 28. They fly a standard pattern here. Safety is of prime concern. As we're watching the glider, you may see parasails or hang gliders cross into the frame, because there are two of them flying here along with radio-controlled model airplanes. It's a very busy place.
He was probably 350, 400 above the cliff.
Okay. Would you describe this pattern, please?
Okay. Well, our glider is made a run to the north. Now he's going south. If he has enough altitude and there's lift with the cliff, he'll rock his wings as he goes back north. Then he'll make a turn, a left-hand turn, and come down onto the runway. It looks like he's quite low today, so he's probably going to fly across us, moving north again along the cliffs at Torrey Pines. And he'll probably, I can't tell at the moment, he's in a decision height here. He'll have to size up the paragliders, their location, and then make his turn to the runway. Here he's coming around now.
Now, if the paragliders and the glider are heading toward each other, do they both turn right?
That's right. They'll turn away from each other, although the paragliders realize they're in a sustaining condition. They're able to stay where they are. There isn't enough wind today for the glider to stay up there indefinitely, so the paragliders would yield in this situation. They'll find themselves in the area where the glider has to pass through and land.
Let's have the camera operator swing right and pick up the paragliders. No, don't do that. Let's get the landing.
Okay, he's approaching the cliffs here. He's coming right over our heads, probably 40 feet above us, flying at about 55 miles an hour. He's got his spoilers out. You can see the little flaps on the wings. Just letting it down to the runway, and there he goes, just touching down and flying over the hill. There's actually two hills here at Torrey Pines on the runway, and it's kind of a test of your skill if you can fly over them about a foot above the ground. It's kind of a challenge to us.
Like Catalina Airport.
I haven't flown there, but I guess it is, yeah. Palomar's got a couple of hills on it, too. In a glider, it's fun. It's very quiet. You don't have to worry about running out of gas, that's for sure. It's a lot of fun here.
The flags are waving. The warning horn is on. And here we go with the winch tow. Now, this is going to be an emergency training tow. They're going to pretend that the cable breaks about halfway up. Now, that was a simulated cable break. What do you do if the cable breaks and you're 5 feet off the ground? This is part of the training program that they operate here. This is the retrieval truck that you see in the camera. They pick up the end of the cable. That's the end that has the 3 little parachutes on it. And they take it back and hook up the glider again. This is part of the intensive training program that's required to check out for winch tow. The flag is waving. The warning horn is sounding. And here we go for winch tow. This is supposed to be a simulated emergency. About halfway up, they're going to pretend that the cable broke. There it is. The instructor pulled the release, and that is a simulated cable break. Tell us what's happening here.
Okay, now the plane is setting up for the approach on the emergency diagonal runway. The plane will fly, looks like they're going to fly a full pattern actually. They're going to just come in slowly, make a pattern to the cliff, make a right turn, make another right turn, and then approach to downwind.
So he was high enough to actually fly a pattern?
He was high enough to fly a pattern. Had it been 20 or 30 feet lower, 5 seconds earlier, he would have had to land on the diagonal runway.
What was the altitude when the simulated cable break happened?
Oh, probably 200 feet, 150 feet. Normally on a good launch here at Torrey Pines, you can get to 350, 380 feet, and an early release at more than 100 feet, you'd have to go into the diagonal runway. Anything higher than or less than that, you'd probably just land straight ahead on the main runway.
And that's the retrieval vehicle there on the runway.
Yes, he doesn't pull out on the runway until after the glider's passed.
Ed Slater, Vice President of the Glider Club, is manning the winch today. I want him to tell you the procedures. Ed?
Thank you, Captain Fred. What happens here, this winch was designed for launching barrage balloons during the Second World War. Now it's been converted. It's a means of launching gliders into the air. We put the glider at the other end, about 1,400 feet down the runway. When they're ready, they level the wings. I observe that. Then they start waving the flag, as they're doing now. Once I look around and clear the area, make sure there's no other aircraft or people on the ground on the runway, then I'm ready to launch. So we're about to do a launch now. I'll hand it back to you, and here we go.
Thanks, Ed. Let's watch Winch Toe. The orange flag is waving. The warning horn is on. And here we go with a winch toe. This is going to be a simulated emergency. There it is. Simulated rope break. The instructor released the cable, simulating that the cable broke. This is part of the training process. And that's a simulated cable break. We're going to view a winch toe from the other end now. We're at the glider facing west. Let's watch the winch toe from the glider's vantage point. Describe this takeoff for us.
Okay, you saw the flag circling. That means the tension is out. The pilot is accelerated along the ground. When they reach an airspeed of about 40, they pull back on the stick, and you can see that they're climbing nicely. The trick here is to maintain the airspeed about 50, 55 miles an hour and have a nice smooth launch. Normally, the winch will release the tension on the wire and cut the power.
Now that was the cable drop, those parachutes.
That's right. The parachutes let go. The winch operator signals the glider to let go by reducing the power. You feel the deceleration. Roll the nose over a little bit, release the tension, and then he's free to fly. And he's along the cliff. Now he's headed south. There you go.
How long is the runway here?
The runway is 1,400 feet. You can see the winch down at the other end. That's 1,400 feet away. So between here and the winch, they're able to climb about 600 or 700 feet, again, depending on the type of glider that is being used.
Now, when I flew in competition back here in the many years ago, they had spot landings, and first, second, and third were within an inch.
Oh, that's right. They had to measure down to a 1/16 of an inch sometimes. So you can put the glider almost anywhere you want it when you come back in. Actually, the glider started flying here as early as 1928. That's the first recorded flight when they did the bungee launches. So there's 63, 64 years of gliding history here.
Our audience may be interested to know that Anne Lindbergh got her glider license here on Mount Soledad.
Well, yes, I've read about some of those accounts where they would take a horse and a wagon and they'd take the glider up to the top of Mount Soledad. They'd get a lot of strong men with an elastic cord. They'd stretch it out and spring them off the cliffs of the hill, I guess, up there. And then they would go as far as they could, probably landing down on the beach because it was a clear spot.
Okay, now describe this landing and the spoilers.
All right, he's going to go behind the side of the hill. He's not going to hit the ground. You can't quite see that, but he has to release the spoilers, open them up, and make the glider sink. So we've smoothed out the rain ruts on the runway here. That's why the cones are there.
And they have the little wheels on the end of the wings, like the old Jennies used to have the wire loops.
That's right. There's one main wheel to land on. There's a tail wheel for handling on the ground. And then when the wing drops, once the glider stops flying, that's just to prevent damage to the wingtips.
Now we're going to show you what a winch toe takeoff looks like from inside the glider. We'll put the camera inside the glider and do a winch toe takeoff so you can experience what it really looks like. Be prepared for a steep angle of climb.
We're going to pass up about 300 or 400 feet above the edge of the cliff and make a turn to the north. We'll be seeing the Torrey Pines Golf Course. Now here we go. Here we go. All right, that's Torrey Pines Golf Course on our right, and we're climbing up over the ocean. We're going to turn around. We're going to let go of the winch here in a moment. Okay. We're free, Captain Fred. We're turning north. There's another glider on our left side if you want to look out the other side. There's a fiberglass glider there moving to the north. Okay. Okay, we're turning now. There's a hang glider below us. There's a glider above us. That's famous Black's Beach down below us. And we're moving south towards the Scripps Pier. There goes a remote control glider. Oh, it's a nice day. There's a bit of a breeze today. We'll extend our path to the south a bit. Nice to see the surf down there. Makes a wonderful view, doesn't it? Captain Fred, I know you don't have a microphone, but I call this really the way to live. I love it up here. As you see, there's some hang gliders down below us on the cliff. There's one coming towards us. There's some remote control gliders. Lots of people up here today enjoying the scenery at Torrey Pines. Since there's not much lift, we're going to enter the pattern and fly towards the landing zone. Here we go. You're going to see the runway and the cliffs coming up in a moment. Here we are. And there we have it, a quick Torrey Pines flight. All right, we're about to launch, Captain Fred. Hang on, this should be fun. Gets a bit warm in here, even on a breezy day with the canopy closed. Here we go. There, we got a good launch that time. We're 650 feet above the ocean. Now, Captain Fred, those are the hang gliders right below us. They can fly in a lot lighter winds than we can. Now we're heading south towards Scripps Pier. Yeah, we got a higher launch this time. But I don't see any lift on our variometer. Okay, we're going to clear our turn and we're going to go back towards the north. I'll move inside the edge of the cliff so we can look down and see all the people down there getting a suntan on Black's Beach. You look on the left side, we're going to go by a hang glider at about our altitude, just coming up to our wing. There's another paraglider, hang glider. Two of them, in fact. Let's turn this way and see if we can follow him around. Can you see the hang gliders? There they are. How you doing? Now we're in a nice sheltered canopy. If it's cold, if it's a cold day, they've got to have those warm parkas on to stay comfortable. I think we'll go north again, and then we'll make a turn and make a standard Torrey Pines glider approach, taking our airspeed up to 60 miles an hour. The runway is clear. There's no traffic in the landing pattern. Here we go. Okay, here we are again. We found a few more of those ruts in the runway. However, that's what the thrill is all about here. Still filming? Captain Fred, I hope you can come back and see us here next year. We've had quite a time getting all the permits signed, but it's certainly worth keeping this as a soaring site. I can think of few places that are so beautiful. We'll see you next year. Come and see us.
Well, I hope you learned something today about winch tow. There are 3 kinds of tow: shock card tow, auto tow, and winch tow, in addition to the aero tow with an airplane. Not all pilots of gliders have all the different kinds of tows. It's very unusual to see winch tow. So we had an excellent opportunity today to see winch tow with the Glider Club here at Torrey Pines Cliffs. I hope you enjoyed it. We enjoyed bringing it to you. I hope you learned something. We did. And as always, this is Captain Fred saying, happy landing!